Morning students, welcome to today's lecture class. So in the past lectures, we have discussed about all the three units. Okay, the last unit we have discussed about the welded connections. We have discussed about some design problems. We have seen how to solve those problems. How that various welds are designed. We have seen this. So today we move on to the next unit, the next chapter, that is the tension members. Okay. So tension members, what is a tension member? It is a structural member subjected to two pulling or tensile forces applied at its end. Okay, any structural member at the end of which it is being applied upon by two pulling forces, that is tensile forces, is a tension member. Now the members and the connections are so arranged that the eccentricity in the connection and the bending stresses on the member are not developed. So tension members, members, that any tension member is so connected, okay, whether by weld or whether by bolts, that there is no eccentricity developed. What will happen if the eccentricity is being developed? You'll have secondary stresses. You will have additional moments for which you'll have another additional stresses. So that is not desirable. All right. Now the strength efficiency of a tension member is seriously affected because of end connections, reversal of loads, and bending moments. Okay. Now the what it says is the efficiency of a tension member. Okay. The strength or working capacity of a tension member will be affected if you do not provide proper end connections. Okay, if the end connections are not properly designed, if there is reversal of loads or stresses. Reversal of loads or stresses means a tension member which is supposed to do tension load, sometimes it may start taking compressive loads. Sometimes compressive stresses also act on these members. What will happen? It will then tend to buckle. Whenever there is compressive stresses, then there is chances of bending moments or chances of eccentricity. If eccentricity is developed, the CG will shift and the uh, secondary moments will be generated. Okay, so this will overall reduce the tension or efficiency of a tension member or the strength of a tension member. And the member subjected to axial tension, if a member is subjected to only axial tension and no moment, okay, no, there is no combined axial bending moment and bending moment, only axial tensile force, it will not buckle locally or up to yield point or beyond yield point. And also entire cross section is subjected to uniform stress. In case of tension members, see what happens in any plate. Suppose if you're taking a plate and which is not being uh, bored, which is not being made whole, in which hole is not being made. So whenever you make a hole, there is concentration of stresses around the hole. Okay, what we assume in our design of the connections, we assume that the stresses are uniform, but in reality, in practice, stresses are not uniform near the edge of the hole. So as long as we can avoid the provision of holes for bolted connections, stresses will be fairly uniform. So that is the reason we always go for welded connections. That is one of the main reasons. Okay. Now, if a member which is not subjected to tensile force beyond the yield point, okay, the tensile force is up to the yield limit, then it will not buckle, because buckling will start only under compressive load. Tensile load will reduce the buckling effect, okay, if at all it is taking place. So this is one advantage of using tension members. Now, let us see what are the types of tension members that we have. So we have four categories here: weirs and cables, bars and rods, plates and flat bars, and single and built-up structural shapes, which includes angles and I sections and all that. So one by one, we'll see. So first is weirs and cables. So in this figure, you see these are all guy wires. Okay. So these wire ropes are exclusively used for hoisting purposes as guy wires. These are also called as guy wires in steel stacks and towers. So this is a tower. Okay. See, this is a tower. So this is being firmly being attached with the ground using this wire. So these wires are called as guy wires. So this is nothing but a tension member. When this structure is being made to stand or being erected and it is being supported by these wires will take the tensile load. Okay, so it's a tension member. So in the form of wires, which is called as guy wires, we can use tension members. Okay. Now strand consists, what happens, sometimes we have strands and ropes, and a strand will contain groups of wires through which the inside which inside the strand, the groups of wires will pass, which will have a certain CG. Okay, so those can also act as tension members. Now, a strand will consist of individual wires which are wound helically around a central core, and a wire rope is made of several strands laid helically around a core. So around a core, it is being wrapped in a helical manner so that the strand is being made. So these strands are used as wires, okay, guy wires or other wires. So cables are used. Now, what are the use of cables? Cables are used in suspension bridges. You have seen in Kota there is a suspension bridge, hanging bridge. Cables are used. These are pre-tensioned wires. Okay, pre-tensioning and post-tensioning that you will learn in RCC, or you might have heard about it. So and those wires are pre-tensioned. Okay, so pre-tensioned wires being used. Those are also standard wires as cables. Okay, so cables and suspension bridges, those wires are specifically designed to take tensile forces. Now the cables are also used as floor suspenders in suspension bridges. For the suspension of the floors, we use cables. Okay, in those bridges. Now cables in the form of wire ropes and strands are used in application of high strength is required and flexural rigidity is unimportant. Now the problem with these wires is that the flexural rigidity is less, but it is not extremely rigid. Okay, since it's durable because of its ductility and flexibility, this is the reason that is these wires are being employed or used in cables and wires as cables and wires. Cables are generally long and the flexural stiffness is negligible. There are initial sags and geometrical effects. So along with some of the positive effects, some negative effects also come. There is always sag in those wires. Okay, and this drawback has to be accounted for. Okay, now you see this is a bracing. So this is a portal frame, and these bracings are also can be used as tension members. Some of these can be used as tension members. Okay, now bracings can be any member. It can be angle member. It can be a channel section. It can be anything. This ties. This is a bridge. This is a lattice girder. Okay, this lattice girder. All this diagonal member. These are ties or this floor of this deck. Okay, the deck system flow member. These can also be used as tension members. So there is a lot of application of tension members in civil engineering, structural engineering point of view. So this is another eccentric bracing of multi-story buildings. This is a multi-story building. Bracings are also used as tension members. See here, and for this industrial building that we will understand in the later part of this syllabus. One chapter is dedicated for pre-engineered buildings. Then some of these bracings, again some bracings, some other members, the purlins and this roof trusses and all, they're also subject to tension members. So they are being used. Okay. Another part is you're in water tanks. See this again, these are braced water tanks, elevated overhead water tanks. There also it is used. Cables and suspension bridges in the floor beams. Okay, these hangers supporting these floor beams, these hangers. This is the floor beams and this is the floor beam, this is the hanger. So these hangers can be used as tension member. This ties in this deck of this lattice girder can be used as a tension member. These stay cables in cable and suspension bridges, these main cables, all these are application of tension for wires and rods. Bars and rods are also used. Bars for bars. Disadvantage for rods and bars is inadequate flexural resulting in collapsible sag under their own. The sagging of these members of built-up bars and rods may be minimized by limiting the length to diameter ratio. That is the slenderness ratio. If you decrease the slenderness ratio, okay, somehow you can reduce the sag or the buckling. Anyways, tension member is always designed so that there is no buckling. Now, bars and rods, then we come to plates. Okay, flats and plates. This is another members. This is another part where it is being used for flats and plates. For tie members, you can use as a plate or as a flat. You used in bridges, you can use that. Like in say for example in an foot over bridge that is being used in railway platforms. Most of the things that you will notice there, most of the members are your flat bars of plates. Okay, why not angles? Why? Because plates are very useful in case of reversal of stresses. So that is the main motive of using flats and plates instead of angles. Angles are not that uh, useful while there is problem of this reversal of stresses. So last part is this part, flats and plates, and then you have structural and built-up shapes. So these are the shapes in which you use angle section connected to a tie plate like this, either bolted or this is welded. So now two angles connected on the same side of this plate, two angles connected on the opposite sides back to back and bolted like this. So then you have four angles connected. This can form as a tension member, as a component. You have four angles connected with two of them being connected with individual plates like this. There is various combination of arrangements that can be done and used as a tension members depending upon the adequacy of loads and the factor of safety of the structure. So that you have to see. Okay, so these are some of the applications that we use in the tension member structures. Okay, so for the single and built-up structures, you have open sections such as angles, channels, and eye sections. Then you have built-up sections such as double angles. These are double angles. This double angles as a double angle. These are single angle. This is a double angle. So as a double angle and as a single angle, you can use closed section of square, circular, and rectangular, hollow sections also can be. There are various applications for which you can use the tension members. All right. Now let us move to net sectional area. Can you use bolting as a connection for tension members? When you use bolts, then the first thing that you do is you have to produce holes for inserting the bolts. Okay, whenever you are making holes in the plate or in the angles, whenever it is being bolted, you have to, there is deduction of area, there is deduction of the sectional area. So the deducted area, after the deduction, what is the net area? That is called as the net sectional area. So this is how it will resist. This net sectional area will provide the resistance of the stress. The stresses will be derived, generated around this net sectional area. So it is very important to find out what is the net sectional area for any cross-sectional member that is to be used as a tension member. So first thing is for plates, we have net sectional area formula for plates and how we calculate net sectional area for angles. So first we'll go for plates. So see, this is a plate. Okay, here bolting is done with two bolts in one row or one column, you can say. Okay, having a breadth B, I guess height small b. Okay, now this is chain bolting, one line. Now you have staggered it. When you have staggered it, so this pitch is P. Yeah, this is not a, this is a simple pitch. Now you are making staggered holes. Okay, one hole is here. That means in one line you are having one hole, in another line you are having another hole. So like this staggering will continue, and you have arranged the bolting in such a manner that it looks as a staggered connection. So for staggering, you are providing a pitch P. So this P, small p, is called a staggered pitch P. Now in the third case, you see this is one hole, this is one hole, and this is one hole. So what is happening for C, hole C and B, the staggered pitch is P1. For D and C, staggered hole is P2. Tangential forces are T acting in this. And this is the gauge distance, G1 and G2. Gauge distance from these two, gauge distance is always perpendicular to the direction of load that I have explained in bolting. So this distance will be G1 and this distance will be G2. From C to D it is G2. Okay. So this is the nomenclature of how it is being. Now see. In this problem, the deduction is equal to sectional area of holes. What is the deduction that you have to make? Deduction is the sectional area of holes and deduction due to pitch or gauge you have provided. So when you are providing a staggered connection, there will be staggered pitch, there will be staggered gauge. So that you have to take in. That is, there is also a deduction because of the staggering that you are being provided. Okay, so net area is the gross area minus sectional area of holes minus deduction due to staggering. Okay, since you have staggered the connection. So this is what is the net sectional area? B into T. T is the thickness of the plate, B is the width of the plate. So net sectional, gross sectional area you are providing is B into T. Now what is the net sectional area? NDH into T. Okay, so this is minus net section. What is the net sectional area is NDH into T is number of holes, n is the number of holes that you are making, dh is the diameter of holes, t is the thickness of the plate. Plus, now this minus. So this minus becomes plus. Okay, so you are operating this bracket now. So plus P1 square T by 4G1, P2 square TG by 4G1. So this is something that is empirical, that is being observed. So that whenever you are providing a staggered pitch of P1 along with a staggered gauge of G1 and a staggered pitch of P2 along with a staggered gauge of G2, the deduction will be based on this formula, P1 square T by 4G1 plus P2 square T by 4G2. So you have to make this deduction. For that means there are only two holes you are making. This, that means this is being explained for this plate only, since there are two staggering only. From one staggering is from this hole to this hole, another staggering is from this hole to this hole. All right. So you perform this bracket operation, then you get B minus NDH plus P1 square by 4G1 plus P2 square by 4G, hold inside bracket into T. So now usually this P1 and P2 are similar, because when you design the connections, when you design the bolting connections, invariably we keep the pitch as same. We do not differ. We do not keep variation in the pitch or in the gauge. Okay. So whatever pitch we are keeping for one rivet line to another rivet, the same we keep for the other lines also. So if P1 and P2 are equal, N is equal to P, and G1 and G2 are equal, then you put P by 4G1 and this will be equal and this will be equal. So this will be AN will be equal to B minus NDH 2 P square by 4G T. Now this is for two number of holes. Okay, two number of pitch. All right, you are making three holes and you are getting two pitch. So if you generalize this formula, you'll get B minus NDH plus N dashed 4 P square by G into T, where P is the staggered pitch, G is the gauge distance, N dash is the number of staggered pitch, and N is the number of holes in the zigzag line. What is the number of holes in the zigzag line? For example, in this case, what is the number of holes in the zigzag line? This is 1, 2, and 3. You are getting three holes in the zigzag line. Okay. Now, in this case, N dash will be, and N dash will be always N minus 1. So staggering that number of that many times you have staggered the pitch. So N will be 3. For this case, N will be 3, and here it will be N dash will be 2. So N dash is number of staggered pitches and N is the number of holes in the zigzag line. So once we do a problem based on this formula, we'll understand the concept more clearly. So this is it for today. We'll continue our discussion with other subsequent topics in the next class. Thank you.